So let's look at some poker, guys, from 2+2 Forum.
I used to play a little Hold'em myself, a little
Oh,
Texas
really?
Hold'em with the fellas. Yeah, I'd go middle of the night, and my friends and I would go to the poker room at the River Rock Casino, and we would play against all the drunks on the weekend in the middle of the night, stone cold sober. And we would do pretty well. We would make a decent, we wouldn't play high stakes or anything, but we would win a lot because there was a lot of, terrible drunk players there at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's cool that you two are on here then, that you played. I've never played poker. I've been to 5 casinos in my life, and I'm the worst.
Just to take a shit.
No, I'm the worst gambler in the world because I've told this story before on another episode, but I'll just tell it real quick. That like when I went to Vegas the first time, I was up like $800. And I was so excited about it. I was like, this is fucking crazy. Well, by the time I left, I was up $80. And, whatever. I wasn't.
That doesn't feel quite as good.
No.
But the seed is in your mind that I'm at least good enough to win $800. So.
Mm-hmm. And then I came home, and there's a casino here, and I took Katie, my wife, and I was like, listen, we're broke as fuck. We don't have any.
Oh, yeah, that's where you want to go then. That's where you want to go.
And I'm like, I think I figured out how we could make a little extra money. And that's by playing roulette.
Roulette. Roulette as well. Is that because I would think you'd want to play one that had some skill involved, but no, you're going pure chance on that. Okay.
And I was like, because I sat at the roulette tables at Bally's the whole time I was in Vegas, and I had a good time or whatever. So I go.
What were you betting when you did it? Just out of curiosity, like were you betting red black or were you betting
red black? It was just red black the whole time, but my bets would get progressively higher.
You're doing the equivalent of just flip a coin betting at the casino for massive amounts of money. Okay, very cool.
But then my bets would get stupid. Like I bet $200 one time. And it's because as it goes up, you don't feel the same fucking feelings betting $20 as you did when you bet $100.
Same as
it's
drugs,
just monopoly money too.
Yes. you need to keep feeding it more and more, though. You're right. It's just like you don't get that rush of betting 20 because it becomes meaningless to you. But all of a sudden now you bet 200 and you're like, holy shit, I can't afford to lose this.
So we get to the casino and I take out $80. I give my wife $40. She goes and plays some.
Okay, that's kind of weird. Just that she only got 40 and you got 80, but you could...
No. I got 40. We each got $40. Okay. So she goes and does some slot machines for about 15, 20 minutes. I go to do roulette. I lose all my money in 15 minutes. Like it's all fucking gone. And I go up to her and I'm like, I think we probably got to go to the ATM and get a few more dollars so this can work out for us. And she's like, here, let me give you, she gave me 25 of her dollars because she wasn't spending any. And I walked over that table, fucking lost that $25. We were home 20 minutes after we got to the casino. It was so demoralizing and it kept me away for a little bit. But now every time I'm near one, I'm like, we should just go play roulette. I think roulette is the game. Like, I don't know why I think that's the game because I've won money doing it.
I just want to tell you the game is poker because you're playing against other people and not the house. So if they have the game is going to be poker, definitely, because you can affect it in different ways and stuff like that. If you're, I don't know chance wise though what the best odds are. Tom might know that.
If you're playing against the house, I think it's baccarat.
Yeah, I read a lot of
odds. If it's poker, but if you're playing against the house, if you insist on games of chance, Brian.
And Brian does. I the last time I did go and play was I went to do a comedy show. This was years ago when I was still doing stand-up, and I went to go do a stand-up show. It got canceled, but they still paid me the $225 for the gig. And I literally walked home past the casino downtown in Vancouver. I forget what it's called now, but I walked right past it. I thought, this is literally free money that and so I sat down and played a little blackjack and I doubled it. I made 400 and that's my, I got up to 400 and I felt like I was a fucking king, like I had just absolutely won it. And I haven't gone back since.
He's just such a careful guy. Well, I looked at this 2+2 forum, and the first thread I really enjoyed was altercations at the table.
Oh yeah.
Chips Omnom says, feel free to share any and all encounters with assholes at the table and how you shut them up or otherwise handle it. So first of all, these stories are going to be 90% lies.
Snappy answers to stupid questions style shit.
That's right.
Yeah. And also like a lot of these people's like, I encountered an asshole at the table means I was losing a lot of money and I wanted to blame somebody else for it. And I got mad at somebody speaking in a certain way or whatever, or playing in a certain way. It happens in blackjack all the time with the person who's at the end of the table. If they don't take a card when they're supposed to or whatever, people will start losing it on them if they're losing money.
Okay, so I don't understand the first part of this, okay? So I'm just going to read it because gamblers seem to understand this stuff. With tournament blinds at 500/1500, UTG fakes an accidental raise to 15,000. He put out 3 5,000 chips instead of 3 500 chips and said he meant to call. I fell for it and jammed with ace queen O, I guess. He calls and turns over AKs. I river a queen for the win, stand up and yell in your face.
Oh, this guy sounds awful. It seems like the person probably did maybe just make a mistake and bet. So blinds are just like what you have to bet right off the top. Like there's the small blind and the big blind. So they're saying that it was 5 and 15 and he meant to call, but he accidentally put in 15,000 in chips. So this guy is saying, oh, he's doing it on purpose to try to and then I ended up winning. It was a very standard thing. You get something on the river or whatever, and you bust them on the river. You don't stand up and say in your face to somebody.
I would. It seems fun. So here's where the lie comes. Dude said he would take me outside if it was 20 years ago. I asked him to describe what he would do to me.
I asked him to describe what he would do. This is a kink, dude.
This is fucking weird. This whole interaction, if it actually happened, would have been so funny to see. Because it sounds like he was yelling at an elderly man as well, Yeah. He's like, if 20 years ago, I would have taken you outside.
I asked him
to woodshed.
I asked him to describe what he would do to me. Table laughs, and dealer verbally steps in and tells us to knock it off. Haha, serves him right for angling. Poker players are so easy to tilt. One little comment will tilt them all day, and they usually knock themselves out. Haha, I'm talking delicate flower emotions.
You yelled in his face. What are you talking about? Like, if somebody yells in your face like that, it's like a confrontational,
It's just poor etiquette. I mean, it's like guy's not mad at you because you won the pot. I mean, you might feel whatever, but he's mad because you're just being belligerent at the table.
You're yelling in someone's face. It's like, and it's not just poker etiquette. It's just fucking etiquette in general. You don't fucking scream in someone's face that you don't know in public unless you're willing to have a fight, because some people will react by hitting you in that instance.
And he the guy lost a lot of money. So he's already in a bad mood. So this guy ends his post by saying, I take full advantage of this and tilt the assholes and know-it-alls. Very entertaining. Haha. So this guy is probably the worst person in the entire world. But Dr. Meh responds and says, or perhaps it was a genuine mistake and he meant to limp UTG, in which case your over-the-top reaction to a rivered queen finally displays the, quote, delicate flower emotions you so fondly apply to others.
That guy has nailed it. That Dr. Meh has just nailed it there.
One of the worst developments of the last 30 years is and it's kind of died down, thankfully, to some degree. But having poker on TV is a spectator sport. Because it made every jackass like these guys we're talking about here think that there are these characters, there was always the Mike Mattisals and these guys that were really animated and over the top guys.
Yeah, Phil whatever his name. Phil Hellmuth, the Unabomber. Yeah, definitely. They started thinking that hey, this is part of the game. It's like, no. this is a thing that they were doing for TV cameras in order to make themselves celebrities. It's not part of the game, you know.
It was a proto social media thing, in the same way that social media has convinced everybody that of their own sort of micro celebrity. Like TV poker kind of predated that by a couple of years, you know. So these, I still know guys I used to just play little home games with in college that think they're going to roll up the stakes and like hit it big in Vegas and all that kind of stuff, and still like post like it and like say these like really inspirational things and post pictures of them playing in the World Series where they promptly just like lost their buy-in and just went home.
And the world, and if you have the buy-in, you can play in the World Series of Poker, right? Like it's not like a matter, you don't have to like make it in.
They don't hand select you.
Online Veteran says, I play. Okay, so Gesh had said previously, he's getting quoted, back 20 years ago when True Poker was a 3D online site, one of the avatars had a gun, which if she knew the Easter egg, she was able to pull out of her holster and shoot an opponent. Online Veteran says, I played on this site almost every day, and I don't remember ever seeing that. True Poker was my favorite site of all time. I started playing there in the spring of 2001. I had my worst losing session ever the night before 9/11. That site brings back a lot of memories.
Holy
Every time I see the towers come down, I just think about how I lost it all. I, like America, lost it all.
He starts crying at footage of 9/11, and people are like, oh, it's okay, you know, like it was a horrible thing. And he's just thinking to himself, like, man, I lost all my money.
That's what he remembers about 9/11. I don't listen. He's probably one of the only people in the world that remembers what he was doing on 9/10. I guess the best I can give him. And then Suited Powa says Poker Stars launched on 9/11. Talk about bad timing.
I don't think. I mean, it was a very successful site, so I guess the timing wasn't that bad. I don't know, but
people were looking for something to do on 9/11.
I think that other one was a joke, by the way. The one who said that there was a gun that you could have in your avatar, and if you had an Easter egg, you could pull it out and shoot one of the opponents on the online poker. I think that person was trolling and making a joke.
RB Mad said the greatest example of peaceful assimilation of races and cultures is a poker.
Oh no!
What? What?
I've been going to public private poker rooms for more than a half a century, and I've never one time seen any racial incidents. White, black, brown, and yellow people all sitting, working together peacefully. A study in how people should try and get along.
What?
That's where the races get together.
Chris.
Yeah.
It's where the races get together and I mean, solve racism by attempting to take each other's money.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever. I will say, like, I played in Richmond, extremely multicultural, where I grew up. So like huge, heavy Asian, Chinese population, South Asian population as well. So I will say that, you know, the poker tables were very multicultural, but everywhere else is as well. Really, I don't know that they're unique in that way. Like, I don't know that it's like I suppose it brings people together like compulsive gamblers. Like a racist compulsive gambler might interact with a person of color just due to their gambling addiction. You know, they might force themselves to do that. So I guess, yeah, exactly.
We found common ground.
We're both addicted to gambling and lost everything, you know.
I got to tell you, the very next post, guys. Guy goes, your mom says, we have an ongoing joke in our private game about how the black guys dominate in February since it's Black History Month. Someone even set up a timer with a countdown to February 1st. Hilarious.
So that's, I mean, my friends and I have a different sort of style of humor that we use, but yeah, I guess that could be funny.
we go a different direction with it, but
yeah, that's kind of a funny joke, I guess. Yeah, I'm sure they probably are into how you bringing it up every year as well. And, yeah,
they love it, guys.
Poker kind of suffers aesthetically from the same thing like MMA fighting does, in that it attracts like the cancel culture, like like, you know what I mean? It just like, for whatever reason, it just kind of draws that element in, and that was always my suspicion, and now you've confirmed it.
The least woke people I've looked at doing this show, and you got to think of the amount of shows I've done, and like these guys were the least, like there were jokes that I was like, whoa, you can't say that anymore. And they're like, from now. Meowth says, coming back from break in a tournament, a friend and I saw a shouting altercation that escalated to One guy pulling out a fork and stabbing the other in the face. Not crazy hard, but it definitely broke the skin. When I sat back down, the stabber had been moved to our table and explained he did it because the dude was wearing a turban and it was a big no-no for their religion to do that while playing. Stabby was a couple tables over and they got into a shouting match shortly after. So it was.
But that's bound to happen because this is, it's so multicultural, and you're going to have so many different cultures there that there's going to be some culture clash, even though they are at the end of the day going to come together as one.
Well, guys, this next post from 2+2 says, "What's the point of playing anymore?"
Oh no.
With so many exhibits of pure cheating and collusion and shadiness, what's the point in random Joe depositing money and playing?
Is this online? This is for an online?
I think.
I'm guessing, right? They might, because depositing and playing, it sounds like they're referring to online.
Yeah. He goes, yes, the average Joe does read forums or look online about the shadiness of each and individual site. That's how he says it, individual site. So how will they know about the cheating and shadiness that is within these walls? PokerStars sent me 50 questions or so questionnaire that will make me play more on their site / bonus. What would make me play more on their site / bonuses, etc. Who really wants to play knowing this shit is out there and they allow it? I want a screen name change every 3 months minimum. So many scandals nowadays. It's really not worth taking the risk.
Scandals.
And then he goes, he follows up the post right after. He goes, I will add, I stopped playing around 2012 as soon as I knew people had databases of data hand history on me for free through various sites. So I do believe that there's probably so much cheating in online poker.
Yeah, I think
I wouldn't play it,
Well, I'll tell you this, at the sort of dawn of online poker, I'll tell you, I may have told this story on Trillbillies before, but for those that don't listen to Trillbillies, I'll tell it here. My friends and I used to go to the computer lab at our college. This is kind of in the infancy of like party poker and some of these like early like online sites. And we would just all sit at the same table and just sit side by side with each other. That was before like, it would pick up on like IP addresses and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we actually ended up getting in trouble because they had a feature on Party Poker where you could send money between accounts. Like some guy would go bust and like we would just, okay, I'm up, I'll send you 200, you give me 200 or whatever it was. And we we drew the ire of the United States Secret Service, who paid us a visit and pulled us out of class. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. Agent Josh Fisher of the Louisville Secret Service field office came to mine and my cousin's apartment. And I wake up that morning, and our buddy Vinny would always come over, and we'd walk to class together or whatever. So I hear a knock at the door, just think it's our buddy. I show up in my underwear, and there's two dudes in suits. And he goes, oh, man, this reminds me of my first little college pad, the good cop. And I was like, He's like, you guys got a couple minutes to talk to us? And they showed us their badges and shit. And I was like, yeah. Let me put the face off. We go there and sit down. The one guy takes me, he wants to talk to my cousin first because his name's Adam Adams. So phonetically, he goes first in most things.
Mm-hmm.
So he takes me to my room and says, you got to use the bathroom or anything. I was like, no. He goes, you got a towel or something? And he put a towel down underneath the door and made me turn the TV up while they talked to him in the other room. And they took us out there, dude, and basically told us that we have enough right now to put you two away for Class D felony organized crime. And they showed us the receipts of every transaction.
What was it that you had done that was illegal?
Well, here's what it was. The Secret Service, in addition, I just thought they protected the president, but they also like investigate like finance crimes, like counterfeiting and wire fraud.
Like Joe Reacher does stuff like that.
Yeah. Right. And then they also online crimes are under their purview. And so what the problem is you can't, at the time, there was no laws to where you could like tax online gambling earnings. And usually they were set up at like weird countries like Gibraltar you've never heard of.
Yeah.
I mean? And so like that was the rub. But basically in the end, like they basically were just shaking us down and scaring us. Like they were not going to slap us 2 19-year-olds with 20 years or whatever, but like It was a gnarly experience.
That's
Like when
fucking
somebody says like
scary.
we can put you away for 20 years and they showed you a federal badge, not fun.
Yeah,
No,
no.
that's fucking scary. That's wild. I know
Yeah, I knew it.
that was why I stopped playing online poker, was because I realized that you would realize that you'd sit down in a room and you're sitting with a bunch of people who are all playing against you, and you just realize that became a huge thing. Even like people at different, they'd be on the phone and they'd just be at each of their own house or whatever on like a conference call, and then they're just everyone's playing against you, and it's very hard to win. There's that really funny, I think it's probably a fake thing, but did you see that there's a funny viral post about the guy who would play heads up against his neighbor in online poker, and his neighbor didn't realize that he didn't realize it was him, and that he could see his cards like through the window, so he could actually see his gold card.
That's binoculars to check it.